People ask this too a lot. It's just like, hey, how are you going to limit the run game? And I kind of think like, shoot, are you going to limit Steph Curry from, shooting three-pointers? Well, that's one of Anthony's strengths, right? So we're not going to, get away from that. That's what he does well. So.
All right, we are back. What is going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Your guys, Cody and Derek, back for another one, guys. And hey, Indianapolis Colts head coach Shane Steichen had some things to say when he met with the media on Thursday for the first official practice. So we're going to talk about that a little bit, specifically with what he talked about with quarterback Anthony Richardson. So Derek obviously mentioned it. Shane Steichen met with the media, kind of talked about, previewed camp a little bit, kind of talked about, his first impressions with the team and with Anthony Richardson and all that kind of stuff. Mentioned a bunch of different players as well. But I want to focus in on what specifically Shane Steichen had to say in regards to Anthony Richardson. I think the first thing he's kind of talking about with Anthony Richardson specifically was, and I think kind of the main thing that we're going to probably focus on when it comes to it is a question that I think a lot of people have been asking when it comes to Anthony Richardson in year number 2. Because obviously, Derek, we saw year number 1, Anthony Richardson, he wasn't just a one-dimensional player. He used both of his skill sets very well, that being obviously his arm, but also the legs factor. Anthony Richardson obviously had multiple games where he did some damage on the ground and, led to some things, especially in that Houston game where, he had that concussion and didn't finish that game. And, had a couple games where he, wasn't able to finish, or obviously we know the one where out for the year. So, the question that people asked was, should the Colts potentially limit Anthony Richardson's running ability and kind of try to cut that out to help limit him? And this is what Shane Steichen had to say in regards to that. He said, well, shoot, are you going to limit Steph Curry from shooting three-pointers? He said, well, that's one of Anthony's strengths, so we're not going to get away from that. That is what he does well. So, Derek, obviously, when you see that, I've seen kind of different reactions to this. I've seen people, on the one side who say, yes, great, don't take away that. I've seen people say this is not a good thing because Anthony Richardson's just going to get hurt again. But what are your kind of reactions and thoughts to Shane Steichen and what he said regarding Anthony Richardson, regarding kind of his skill set and how the Colts are going to allow AR to use both his arm and his legs?
Yeah, I mean, Shane Steichen had a lot to say about Anthony Richardson during that time that he had. That was what the majority of what Shane Steichen answered during training camp today was about Anthony Richardson and how he looked, how he's progressing in year 2, and what the plan is for all of that. So, there's a lot to cover about it, but specifically about what you talked about with when he was asked about limiting the run game with Anthony Richardson. Like you said, he basically insinuated, that Anthony Richardson's kind of like Steph Curry. It's like, are you going to tell Steph Curry to stop shooting threes or limit how many threes he has? And it's like, no, that's one of his superpowers. And, being able to run is a thing that Anthony Richardson does well. And he said that's not something that we're going to get away from. Now, I mean, Shane Steichen is not sitting here advocating for the aspect that Anthony Richardson is a run-first quarterback and then throwing after. That's just, we're only insinuating, and even said from before, that he's not going to be a run-first quarterback. He's just going to be smarter with the opportunities that he does have to run. And I think the misconception last year, Cody, is that him running is what got him truly injured throughout the year. I mean, let's think about it, right? The first couple injuries that he had, let's see. So the only injury, Cody, that resulted because Anthony Richardson decided to take off running was in that Houston game where he scored a touchdown and his head, because of whiplash, hit the ground really hard. And ultimately that resulted in the concussion. And that was on Anthony Richardson's part because Richardson let up at the goal line and the defender got a cheap shot in. And that's a one where Anthony Richardson has said that was all my fault. I should have been better about bracing for it and knowing it was coming. So that's an Anthony Richardson. You're not in college anymore, bud. You got to be smarter with it. But all the other injuries that Anthony Richardson had suffered, it was all from pass plays, Cody. The one where he got stepped on in the Rams game, he was trying to avoid the pocket because he was getting pressured and got stepped on by Braden Smith. That's super unfortunate. It happened. There's nothing you can do about that. That happens in the NFL all the time. That had nothing to do with his running ability. And then the knee injury in the Jacksonville game, yeah, but it never really did anything to affect him. And the injury that resulted from his shoulder, he wasn't trying to run the last second. He was trying to avoid the pressure and ultimately just got sacked from behind. And there was nothing you can do about that. So I think there's a misconception that Anthony Richardson's running the ball is going to ultimately be what is wrong with Anthony Richardson and staying healthy. Again, last year, I don't think that was the issue. I think it was just that he had some very unfortunate luck with timing and where he was on the field at certain spots. I mean, that happens in the NFL. Luck sometimes just is random in this league, and it's unfair, but it happens. So, I mean, Anthony Richardson said it too at training camp today, that he even talked about it with when Shane Steichen was talking about trusting him to make the right reads as a runner. He even said, my legs have always been one of my superpowers. So trying to take that away from me, I don't think that's a good thing for this offense. He said, it's not that I'm going to, stop being a runner. I just need to be smarter about how I run. I need to make sure I'm getting down, making sure I'm avoiding as many hits as possible, which is all you can ask for Anthony Richardson. So I just don't think that – I think Shane Steichen is correct. I think that it's not something that they should be taking away because Anthony Richardson, that is one of his strengths. He does have that athletic ability. He's got a God-given talent, and to just ignore it for the potential that he might potentially get injured again, I think that's disingenuous to the gifts that he's been given. I mean, we don't tell Lamar Jackson to do that all the time, even though Lamar Jackson might be a little bit more shifty than Anthony Richardson. But nevertheless, we don't tell Lamar Jackson to not run. I mean, that's what makes Lamar Jackson special. So to tell Anthony Richardson to not do what makes him special, I think that is disingenuous to him.
And there's multiple quarterbacks who do that, right? They're not run-first quarterbacks necessarily, but they use their legs, and you see they're some of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the NFL. I mean, you mentioned Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, same way. He uses his legs. I mean, obviously to a smaller degree, but Patrick Mahomes, he uses his legs at times. So there's a time and a place. And obviously Anthony Richardson's God-given ability is, second to none when it comes to just what he's able to do running the football, as a quarterback. So he's going to have a little bit more of those opportunities and more of those maybe traditional pocket passer type of quarterbacks who don't really run. It's not really a part of the game script, right? So, but when it comes to Anthony Richardson, I just think it would be unwise at the Colts because of, like you said, the potential that might happen, even though one of the three injuries happened when he's running, right? That's it. Two of the three were from inside the pocket or when he was passing, not when he was in the process of running the football. So that is definitely something to consider as well. But it'll be interesting, man, to kind of see what happens here with Anthony Richardson. And, kind of obviously we hope he can stay healthy for the Indianapolis Colts. And, what ability is he going to just provide just naturally from his ability to scramble that, I mean, let's be honest, most quarterbacks can't provide that. So very interested to see that when it comes to Anthony Richardson. But guys, curious what you think when it comes to AR and kind of Shane Steichen's thoughts, his comments when it comes to his ability running the football. Are you on board with us and with Shane Steichen? Do you believe the Colts should continue to allow Richardson to run, not take away that part of his game that makes him who he is? Or do you think they maybe need to limit him a little bit more than Steichen's willing to do? Let us know all those things in the comments down below. Really curious what your guys' thoughts are. But guys, that'll do it for this one. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to smash that like button, hit subscribe, turn on the notification bell. all that good stuff. But that'll do it for this one. Thanks, guys, and go Colts.